Hello, this is Justin Williams with the Wolfpacker Podcast. I'm joined today, as always, by co-host Matt Carter. And today we're going to talk about NC State's 69-53 home loss to Duke this weekend. It was Saturday, 4 p.m., February 13th in PNC Arena. NC State drops to 4-8 in conference play, 8-9 overall on the season. And before we get too much into the weeds and what was a disappointing outing for the Wolfpack, this podcast is brought to you in part by JFQ Lending. With interest rates below 3%, there has never been a better time to lock in a low fixed interest rate on your mortgage. You'll never need to think about refinancing again. Set it and forget it. And with JFQ Lending, you are guaranteed to get the highest level of customer service. They have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and over 3,000 five-star reviews. Give Hunter Clausen a call today at 480-513-3992 or email Hunter directly at hclausen@jfqlending.com. That's HCLAUSSEN@jfqlending.com. JFQ Lending, Inc., Equal Access Lender, licensed in over 40 states, www.jfqlending.com. And while you're at it, head over to thewolfpacker.com and use promo code PACK60. That's promo code PACK60 for a free 60-day trial on all of our premium content, news, and analysis over at thewolfpacker.com. And please remember to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to us. We're on Apple Podcast app, Google Play, Spotify, pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're also on YouTube, so if you're watching us on YouTube, please give our channel a follow and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, Matt, let's talk about NC State's 16-point loss to the Blue Devils, who entered this game in similar fashion. Both teams were desperate for a win coming into this game. Duke had lost 6 of its last 8. State had lost 7 of its last 9. Both of these teams were headed in the wrong direction in January. All things considered, the 16-point loss to Duke was actually, the scoreboard looks a lot friendlier at the end of this game than the game felt during this one. For the second straight game, NC State commits 13 first-half turnovers, and yet again, turnovers were the number one problem for this NC State team. But really, Duke rattled off a 22-3 run early on in the first half, or I guess midway through the first half, considering how long that run took. And Duke took a 20-point lead, and from that point on, NC State was just never really able to chip away with any type of consistency, get back into the game at all. So, Matt, just kind of a stymie effort from Duke. I mean, on one hand, if you're Duke, everybody wants to talk about how this was a great performance for them, but I thought this game was more symptomatic of the signs of losing Devin Daniels have finally come full force for the Wolfpack. Those 4 games before this one, they played okay. Yeah. This one, not so much.
Well, what did I say? Not to pat myself on the back, but what did I say after what loss was it? Maybe Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia or Syracuse. Yeah.
When I said these are going to be actually going to be the easier games, with that they were going to get harder. And I remember I think you raised some eyebrows, like, really? You think so? And it's with the point where I thought things would get harder. It's hard to say if that's singularly the reason. There are a lot of reasons why things happened yesterday. Bottom line is the backcourt is just a struggle right now, and turning the basketball over. Look, the big men are partially responsible as well. They weren't nearly as responsible this game as they were against Syracuse with the turnovers. But you got Braxton Beverly out there, clearly not 100% with the back. In fact, he didn't even return to the game after he took a hard fall in the first half. You got Thomas Allen, who just seemed to struggle to find that comfort zone, kind of one step forward, one step back this year for him. And then you got 2 freshman guards who, haven't been through this in the ACC before. They've never seen anything like this, and it's showing in the result. I mean, Shaquille Moore had a nice final stat line, but that was the last 8 points of the game that gave him 13 points for the game. just the reality is it's a smaller backcourt. It's a banged-up backcourt. It's a backcourt struggling with confidence right now. And teams have figured out to make that backcourt beat them. And until that happens, this is part of the struggles for NC State.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that new identity of NC State. I mean, exactly to your point. Yet again, NC State was able to out-rebound Duke. They won the Battle of the Boards, 31-27. So, slight edge for NC State, but Duke had a bit of a size advantage, although NC State went big to start in this game. And I want to get to that point, after I list off these stats here. But, again, beat them points in the paint, 40-26. Beat them on the offensive boards, 12-8. Second chance points, 10-5. All advantage NC State. But just the production from the backcourt just wasn't enough. I mean, Coach Keats has talked about how at first it was he needs just one guy to have a decent scoring performance. And then as we got to the last Syracuse game, it was, I need one guy to have a decent scoring performance and I need one guy to have a hot hand. Well, I mean, Shaquille Moore was really the only one that had a decent scoring performance, 13 points. Other than that, your two top scoring guards were Cam Hayes, 4 points, Thomas Allen, 4 points. And you got 2 points from Braxton Beverly. That's 10 points in probably combined 70, 80 minutes total between those three guys. I mean, just not.
And then throw in that really, you got 5 points from Shaquille Moore until about 2 minutes to go in the game.
Right.
So that's 15 points from the backcourt in all but 2 minutes of the game.
I didn't hate the move to start Jericho Helms at the 3, Manny Bates at the 5, and DJ Funderburk at the 4. I mean, right now, those are probably your 3 most far along college players. Reliable college players. Mm-hmm. Veterans that have been there, done this. But the pieces just don't fit with those guys. I mean, Jericho Helms is a 4. DJ Funderburk can play a little bit of 4, a little bit of 5. Doesn't really matter. But that's why he's been coming off the bench. Because Manny Bates is clearly comfortable in that 5 position. I mean, he just has his struggles, defending outside of the paint. Basically, you saw that with Matthew Hurt. NC State just didn't have a matchup for Matthew Hurt, who is a 6'9" guy that can, hold his own inside the arc, but really just a phenomenal perimeter shooter. And
but I actually thought it was the right matchup move. And actually, Duke or strangely was not starting Matthew Hurt in this game. He was a last-minute substitution in the starting lineup. They had announced a different starting 5, and I guess they saw what NC State was starting and made the switch. But I feel like Funderburk should have been able to keep up with Matthew Hurt on the perimeter. And you have Manny Bates guarding that big guy, Williams.
Yep.
Hurt, Funderburk kind of matchup. Helms was going up against, I forget who he would, Wendell Moore. I don't think that's an overwhelming, difficult matchup for Helms to keep up with. I actually thought this was a pretty favorable setup to go with the big lineup in this game. And as you said, if the guards would have produced, then it could have worked. Because as you said, NC State kind of controlled the action. The one exception being they clearly couldn't guard Matthew Hurt on the pick and pop, and they were kind of unusual for Matthew Hurt because his previous 5 games he had been 5 for 22 on 3-pointers. In his previous 5 games, hadn't made multiple threes in a game, and then what did he do against NC State?
He was 6 of 7 from the perimeter, and actually that last one comes with an asterisk because really he was trying to draw a foul on that play. I mean, it wasn't a clean look. It was I thought I got some contact. I'm just gonna throw this up, see if I can get 3 free points. So he really went 6 for 6 if we're being truthful about it.
Yeah, so it kind of, they caught him, and truthfully, with the difference in the game, I didn't think Duke was that exceptional, like you said at the outset. They only scored 69 points. Now, they slowed the game down pretty good in the second half. Mm-hmm. I thought Stewart did some nice things. Williams is going to be a good big man. And they got unexpected contribution from the one kid who I'm forgetting, Blakefield. Is that his name?
Brakefield, yep.
Braidfield. They got some unexpected contribution from him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easy when you watch this Duke team in person. It's easy to see why they're not going to make the NCAA tournament, most likely.
But Matt, I only heard about 15 times on ESPN about how if they ran the table, they beat Virginia, they beat Florida State, they beat Carolina on the road. I mean, they're going to be in the tournament.
Yeah, they're not running. They're not a bad Duke team. Ironically, this could maybe set up Coach K to be more like the Duke of the past, because I would hope a lot of these Duke guys will be back for the next year or two. And, I mean, for their sake, I would say I hope that. And then we could start seeing more of the traditional Duke teams, as I've argued till I was blue in the face, that they were much better off when they were prior to one and done than they are in one and done. But that's another conversation for a different group of guys on a different podcast. But they're going to be fine going forward. But this was just a matter of NC State right now. They're just still struggling to figure it out, I guess. Well, what's our identity? Do we want to be big, as you say? Do you want to be big lineup? Do you want to be the present? I mean, it's just, and I don't blame Kevin Keith. You had so many disruptions this year. You had so many injuries this year, some big, some small, some nagging. It's hard to figure out a formula when you don't have any continuity and youth.
I mean, he can't control if the guys are going to turn it over 13 times in the first half. I mean, they're just again, DJ Funderburk, I think he had the quote of the year after the Syracuse game. Just for whatever reason, this NC State team just keeps shooting itself in the foot. And he went into it a little bit further and said, look, we can come out and look great in the first half, and then we just lose it in the second half, can't make shots, don't take care of the basketball, or come out of the gate and just let them, dig into such a big hole. Like this was kind of like the Florida State game, Came out for 5 minutes, looked like it was going to be a good back and forth game, and then just no offensive production, no ability to get stops. Duke rallies off that 22-3 run, and that's the ball game. I mean, outside of that, NC State wins by 3 in the other 34 minutes of that game. But when you're down 20 in the first half, and I mean, really, I thought Duke was really giving NC State some opportunities to get back in this game if they wanted to. NC State was just never able to put anything together, and I mean, they weren't able to take care of the basketball. They weren't able to make shots. One stat that jumped out to me, though, Matt, just 3 3-point attempts from the Wolfpack in the first 25, 28 minutes of the game. I mean, I know they finished with 10 3-point attempts, which is still low. They went 2 of 10 from 3-point, 20%. It's not going to win you any games. Duke outscores State from the 3-point line 9-2. That's 21 points right there. That's the ball game. But you're not going to keep pace with a team that's having so much success from the perimeter if you have 3 attempts in your first 25 minutes.
I think some of that, to give Duke credit, I'm sure that was partially by design. Look, if you're defending NC State, Braxton Beverly is not a guy that's going to beat you off the dribble more times than not. Cam Hayes is the guy who has at times struggled to finish at the rim. Thomas Allen is not a guy who beat you off the dribble kind of guy. So the only guy you really have to worry about in that regard is Shaq Moore. So what do? You run them off the 3-point line, right? And that I think so. We have to probably give Duke some credit for that, for running off the 3-point line, and conversely, I think it was Shaquille Moore who said, 13 turnovers mean 13 shots that don't go up in the first half, and probably 3 or 4 of those may have been 3-point shot attempts if they just hold on to the basketball. So I like that Kevin Keith was pretty blunt about that after the game. By the way, I like that he came out and said we stink at ball security right now. I like that he pointed the finger at himself first and said this is on the head coach. And I like the fact that he said it's fixable. So there's a simple priority 1, 2, and 3 going into the Pittsburgh game. Number 1, fewer turnovers. Number 2, fewer turnovers. And number 3, fewer turnovers.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Matt, because I did think that was refreshing as well. It was definitely a different tone from Kevin Keats than we've seen all season. I mean, even the 32-point loss down in Tallahassee to Florida State, he's kind of staying positive, upbeat, and just saying, look, that other team just simply beat us. But I thought this post-game press conference was really the first one where there was true accountability taken. And I also like this point where, from many times, and every college head coach in the country would do this, but a lot of times he used the freshman guards as an excuse. That wasn't the case yesterday. He said, look, this turnover problem, it's not on the freshmen. I mean, Shaquille Moore turned it over twice, but, it's no harm, no foul. Cam Hayes led the team with 4 turnovers. That's not good, but, again, that's not the problem. Everybody's turning the ball over. It's not just the freshmen. So, you can only use that we're young, but so much. And I'm glad he kind of pumped the brakes on that a little bit yesterday. But, yeah, I agree with you. We'll see if NC State can take care of the basketball heading up to Pittsburgh, a team that, on paper should be a pretty decent matchup for NC State. But who knows at this point? I just thought yesterday was really the telling sign that this team really misses Devin Daniels, and there was a reason why Devin Daniels had the ball in his hands for, a majority of the minutes when NC State has the ball in half court. But let's go ahead and give out our game balls, Matt. I don't think we don't need to overanalyze what happened yesterday. NC State just got stymied, simply put. So let's give out our game balls. You can go ahead and give out yours, and I'll give out mine. Yeah. Other than Matthew Hurt, look, he was the player. He was the player of the game. But
I even though I kind of downplayed the fact that he had 13 points because a lot of it came at the end of the game, I still thought Shaquille Moore battled, and he looked like he belonged on the floor. Finished 5 of 8 from the field. And I think this is another game where he showed kind of what he needs to be, which is an attack first, shoot second guard. He still needs to keep shooting. But he had the ability to be an attacking guard. And so, I thought he showed that. As you mentioned, 2 turnovers were not as bad as others. He only had the 1 assist. NC State only had 8 assists. Period, and half of them came from Thomas Allen. So, but it looked to me like Moore felt like he belonged on the floor, and so I thought that was a good positive sign because Duke got some really good freshman guards on their end of the floor. So I get just seeing in repeated games against other freshman guards, top freshman guards, the first UNC game, now this Duke game. You've seen Shaquille Moore show that he belongs with that group, which is a very promising sign. So I'm going to give it to Shaquille Moore.
I think he's the most deserving guy on the team of a game ball. I completely agree with your point, and I will go as far as saying not only has he been the most impressive freshman this year, but he's the number one reason NC State fans should be excited about the future. You get in the full package with this guy. He just gives it his all every time he's on the floor. There's no questions about his energy, his motor. When he attacks first, he's pretty solid offensive player, actually, because he has the ability to knock down those shots. Obviously, he's got the defensive talent, and I like his off-the-court personality, too. I like the way he talks to the media after the games. He seems very mature for his age. Seems pretty calm, cool, and collected. And we've seen him step up in big moments. So, look, I think NC State fans should be very, very excited about Shaquille Moore heading into the future. I think he is a future All-ACC type of talent. But with that said, I'm going to give my game ball to DJ Funderburk because looking down the stat sheet, not really anybody else you can give it to be blunt. 11 points, 5 rebounds in 35 minutes. Not typically a performance that would be worthy of giving DJ Funderburk a game ball, but nonetheless, I thought he limited mistakes. He was credited with just 1 turnover. Look, the defense was a problem. The defense was a problem for everybody on NC State, but, he's a consistent offensive option no matter what the game was. I mean, I think this is pretty much his floor in terms of offensive efficiency. He was 5'11" from the field. But more times than not, you give DJ Funderburk the ball in the low post, he's going to find a way to finish or get to the foul line and make some free throws. So DJ Funderburk's my game ball. I wouldn't write home about his play, but I thought all in all he's probably the second best player on the floor for NC State last night. So please remember to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to us. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. Pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and also give this video a thumbs up. Please follow us on social media. You can follow us, our main account, at the Wolfpacker on Twitter. You can follow me personally at Justin H. Will. Give us a like on Facebook, NC State Wolfpack on thewolfpacker.com. Also, please be sure to use that promo code PACK60 at thewolfpacker.com. That's promo code PACK60 for a free 60-day trial on all of our premium content, news, and analysis. So for Matt Carter, this is Justin Williams, and this has been the Wolfpacker Podcast.